And welcome back to the Ellen Carrington Show. This is part 2 of the Marilyn Diaries release show. Chat room is open. Skype is open if you want to get in your questions or comments about the book. If you read any of it. If you haven't read any of it, hopefully you are. I've been reading some excerpts today and taking questions and comments. And if you missed the first half of the show, I just want to remind you that the Marilyn Diaries is now on sale at Amazon in Kindle and paperback formats. Paperback is standard paperback and large print. Take your pick. Also, if you want to call in on Skype, that's fine. If you want to text, that's fine too. But for those who participated today, I'd like to thank you. And this has been a fun day so far. Right now, I'm going to read yet another excerpt from the Marilyn Diaries. This is at the night after she saw Peter. Well, actually, it's about a week after she and Peter went on a date when he was in town for a convention. And this is dated September 30th, 2011. Bet you wonder what happened to me before today. I was in the hospital. I woke up Sunday morning with a gnawing pain in my side, feeling slightly nauseous and warm. I blew it off as either excitement over seeing Peter or caught whatever bug Janice had at work. I felt somewhat better after a shower and drinking some ginger ale before getting ready for church. Chanel commented about me being a little pale during Pastor Bernadette's sermon and asked if I was okay. I had better days, but I could manage. Dear Sis had no idea I planned to see Peter later, or she'd popped an artery. We only stood at the brunch buffet for a short time before she and Joe dropped me at home with orders to get some rest. I managed to sleep for a couple hours before waking up around 3. The nap seemed to do some good. By the time I prepared to drive downtown to meet Peter, I felt somewhat better than during church. Maybe the good Lord intervened during my nap. Ha ha! I must have seemed okay because Peter didn't act any different toward me than his usual affectionate self. It was amazing to see the number of people recognizing him despite being retired from wrestling the last few years. There were a couple of people I found a bit odd, but most who stood in line at his table were polite and respectful. A mother took a photo of him holding her toddler. Adorable! I could vision him being a good father someday. The convention ended at 7 o'clock since it was the last day. Other than a few people who attended, downtown was practically deserted. Peter and I had dinner in the hotel restaurant. My stomach was a bit jumpy and I felt warm again, so I didn't eat much. I must have become sicker after dinner because the last thing I remember was leaving the restaurant and then woke up in the emergency room. I found out later Peter carried me to his rental car, sped to Allegheny General, the nearest hospital, and all but crashed through the ER doors with me in his arms. A few staff people said he was beside himself and thought I had some kind of food poisoning. Lucky for me, a diligent, experienced doctor immediately discovered I had appendicitis. He said if Peter hadn't brought me to the ER so quickly, I probably would have ended up with peritonitis, or far worse. The hospital called Chanel while I was in surgery. While far from thrilled I'd gone to see Peter, neither she nor Joe gave me aggravation about him. Smart move on their parts, since Peter's swift action may have literally saved my life. I had plenty of visitors on Monday. Pastor Bernadette, Debbie, and a few other ladies from church visited in the morning. Rodney took half a day for his dentist appointment and stopped to see me afterwards. Both he and Keith sent potted plants. Tony, Jackie, and Janice came in the evening with a care package. Janice said I could take off as long as I needed, but I should be fine early next week. Tim and Kara dropped by after their shifts and were pleased to hear Peter was the one who brought me to the ER. Tim had a big smile on his face when he said, I knew I liked that guy for some reason. Peter had to be in Richmond for Monday night's live from, so he couldn't stay. Nevertheless, I received a large bouquet of roses, and he called often during my hospital stay. He's certainly a gift from God, no matter what Chanel and Joe otherwise assume. I finally came home today. Other than being a little sore and have to follow the post-op diet, I feel much better. Kara's coming by later to make soup, and Tony took the liberty of stocking the freezer with my favorite sorbet, cherry. I think she went a little overboard, though. The medicine I took earlier is taking effect, so I need to lie down for a little while. I'm going to spend the weekend relaxing, and hopefully we'll be okay for church Sunday. I know Peter is working on the production team at a house show tonight, but can't recall where at the moment. No doubt he'll probably call while he's able. We'll write again when my mind's clearer. Love, Marilyn. Isn't that great? Oh, can you imagine somebody rushing you to the hospital while you're on a date? Wow. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I mean, we all should have an amazing guy like this, right? Sure, we should. Oh, wow. But we're doing a lot of good things today. Still have to wonder what that guy who bought 10 copies of my book was doing. But, hey, once again, I'm not complaining. I'm going to fast forward here, as we're winding down in 2011 in this book. We're going to get to another good part of the Marilyn Diaries. But this is dated late December 28th, early December 29th, 2011. Long story short, Marilyn had another long night, and you're going to find out why in just a moment. And here we go. So sorry I neglected you the last couple of months. With things picking up a bit of work and the holiday season, there wasn't much spare time for me to journal much as I should have. Tonight, I made an exception, as it is one of the happiest one of my life, at least so far. Peter asked me to marry him. You heard right, we're engaged! Peter was in town tonight for one of International's holiday tour house shows. He only had a few days off for Christmas before going back on the road. I didn't plan to stick around the arena because I was tired after a busy day. Apparently my higher authority had different plans for me. A couple people called off sick today, which irritated Janice to no end. She, Tony, and I got stuck with extra tasks. None of us left until around 6 o'clock. All I wanted to do was go home, soak in a tub, put on my ratty road and fuzzy slippers, and curl up with a book. Provided little putt-putt didn't conk out in the cold and snow during the evening rush hour. I just unlocked the driver's side door when I heard someone yell, "Marilyn!" At first I thought I'd forgotten something and Rodney was catching up to me. Imagine my surprise when I saw Peter. The day's high temperature was 23 degrees and it snowed off and on, yet he wasn't wearing a coat outside of his suit jacket. I'd wondered if he'd either dropped on his head too many times during wrestling matches or just plain lost his mind. "It's freezing out here," I said. "Where's your coat?" He mischievously grinned. "I'm already warm from anticipating what I'm about to ask you, Angel." If you're going to start with me again about going on the road, the answer is still no, Peter. He put his arms around me, the smile never leaving his face. Would us getting married convince you? I was stunned. What? You're a tough one, Angel. He pulled something from his pocket, got on one knee, and showed me the contents of a little box he held. Will you marry me? I don't need to tell you my response, diary. People coming into the parking lot gave us funny looks until they realized what happened. Everyone began applauding after Peter put the ring on my finger and kissed me. It's a little loose, but breathtaking. The diamond has to be at least 2 carats. I'll have it resized this week and at the jewelry shop where Kara works. I obviously stood for the show, watching everything from backstage. Peter's friends and co-workers ribbed him all evening about our engagement. Turns out it was an impromptu plan on his part. Jackie told me she and Rodney saw him drive downtown about an hour before I left work and returned with a little bag. No one imagined such a major ploy was unfolding. From what Sadie told me backstage, Peter made such a big deal about never remarrying following his divorce. Guess that explained all the heckling from his colleagues. We had dinner at the same place as our first date, the Marriott. The manager said our mail was on the house after he discovered Peter and I became engaged earlier that evening. I'm so happy! I know Chanel and Joe will be less than thrilled, but I no longer care. I'm getting married soon in Tampa, and there's not one blue thing they can do about it. Now off to bed and admire my new ring some more. So much work to do in the next few weeks. This has to be my best holiday season ever, and the new year will no doubt bring many more blessings. Love, Marilyn. And on a side note here, I'll put in a mini spoiler. They were engaged for exactly 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. And it's funny about that because that part I based on was kind of my late parents. My dad was 19 and my mother was 20 when they met after, back in the day, I should say. And during this time, they only knew each other 2 weeks before they got married. Guess how long they were married before my father died? Get ready, I hope you're all sitting down for this one. 45 years. Can you imagine? I don't even think most marriages last 45 days in this time of ours. Well, maybe some might go a decade, but imagine knowing somebody only 2 weeks being married 45 years. But Peter and Marilyn were only dating, if you call it dating, through emails, phone calls, occasional visits, whatnot, for about 6 months. And they got married, they got engaged, and met in June, got engaged December. And all in all, they were together almost 2 decades. So anything's possible. And speaking of that, I'm going to pop up and read one more excerpt, and then we'll be wrapping things up soon. Maybe a couple more. Okay, a couple more. So we're going to go into January of 2012. And this entry is dated January 14th. A belated Happy New Year, diary. I've had so much to do since Peter and I got engaged 2 weeks ago. Today was my last day of work, and everyone threw a surprise going away / engagement party for me. I'm going to miss Pittsburgh, this little apartment, and working at the arena, but I leave for Tampa on Monday. Peter has a windless court apartment he's not currently using, so I'll stay there until our wedding. We're getting married 1 week from today at his North Bradford Avenue home. I don't know how he managed to get everything together on such short notice. I found a beautiful winter white lace dress on sale at Macy's. Tony's sister is going to alter it for me this weekend. I have a pair of pumps that will coordinate nicely with the new dress and wear the pearls Mama bought for my high school graduation. I haven't thought of what flowers I'll carry in a bouquet, but I can find some ideas in Tampa. I invited a few close people, but most in attendance will be Peter's friends and associates. Chanel's in a snit because we aren't having a church ceremony, so she and Joe are refusing to go to Tampa. Mama and Daddy were an interfaith couple who didn't have a traditional wedding, and their marriage worked long before Mama converted to the Methodist faith. I don't understand why Chanel's upset, aside from her clear disapproval of Peter since day one. I knew her reaction would be less than favorable, but the fact Chanel won't be present at one of the most important days of my life still hurts. Peter is scheduled to be in Chicago the Sunday after our wedding, so there won't be time for actual honeymoon. I'll see many more places when we travel together, and that's good enough for me. It's going to be a long road adjusting to my new life since I never lived outside southwestern Pennsylvania. While I'm looking forward to spending the rest of my life with Peter, I'm still a bit apprehensive about entering into a world unfamiliar to me. Signing off for now. Tim and Kara are taking me to dinner to celebrate my final weekend at home. They'll also attend the wedding, so tonight isn't the last time we'll see each other. Not sure when I'll see Chanel and Joe, once I leave for Tampa, but all I can do now is pray for them to eventually accept Peter as my husband, or at least make the effort to be civil. Love, Marilyn. And we all, change is, a big thing. And whether or not, we expect it or we initiate it, something like this hits us, that 3 weeks they were engaged, you have to imagine how Marilyn was feeling. She's a little scared of, leaving her safe little life here in southwestern Pennsylvania and moving to Florida to marry a man she's only known 6 months, who's, 15 years older than she. And at the same time, at the same time, she's excited about entering this new thing. And I'm going to give you an inside look about exactly how, her emotions and the like, how she's adjusting to the change once she arrived in Florida. And this is dated January 18th of 2012. And this is what she wrote. I arrived in Tampa early yesterday morning and got lost at the airport. I felt like an idiot. But Peter said it was no big deal. People get lost all the time on their first trips. I'm now in a strange apartment in a new city surrounded by unfamiliar people and have no idea where anything is. Just ask someone, Angel, Peter kept telling me. Far as I know, nobody in the building will bite you. Easy for him to say. It's always difficult for me to approach strangers. I don't know how Peter deals with them on a daily basis, even though he's done so for years. The ideas of finding new church and friends terrify me. I'm running an air conditioner and wearing one of my old summer dresses in mid-January. Crazy, I know. I'm used to wearing sweaters and slippers with the furnace at almost full speed. I see sunshine, green grass, and palm trees outside my window instead of snow, bare branches, and mostly gray skies. Now this part of coming to Tampa won't be hard for me to adjust to. Not that I don't miss Pittsburgh. Oh, diary, I do. Chanel, Joe, my job, church, and friends, more than anyone I know. I'm beginning to wonder if I made a mistake or if it's pre-wedding jitters talking. May as well get used to everything since I'm now living in this state. I haven't heard from Chanel, but not holding my breath since she made her feelings clear about me moving to Florida and marrying Peter. I hope she and Joe are still doing okay. Kara called earlier. Her and Tim's flight arrives in Tampa tomorrow morning. Finally, someone familiar I can talk to, if only for a few days. Tony, Rodney, Jackie, Keith, and Janice are all due in Friday night. The wedding starts at noon on Friday. Some judge will officiate. I wish he would have found a minister, but since neither of us belong to a church/synagogue/whatever in Tampa, a judge will have to suffice. What did Mama once say? The knot will be tied just as tight. Peter's parents are due to arrive from Allentown later today. I'm nervous about meeting them, even though he's told them about me. I'm not sure what they think of him marrying someone outside their faith. Will they be disappointed in me, as Chanel and Joe were about Peter? I have so much to think about the next few days' diary. I'm glad I have this little journal, or I'd gone insane by now. Love, Marilyn. Can you imagine that? This poor girl, she's 22 years old. Never really had a boyfriend. Now she's, marrying this guy who's so worldly. He's been around. He's been divorced. He's not a Methodist. He's Jewish. And, her sister hates him. She's not sure what his parents are going to think about her. So imagine what she's going through. And, and here's a little inscription that he put in her wedding ring. To Marilyn, who gave me reason to smile again, Peter, 1/21/2012. This is the engraving inside her wedding band. And talking about wedding, this is going to be the final excerpt I'm going to read today before we sign off on this show. And it's dated January 23rd, 2012. My first journal entry is Mrs. Peter Class. Gee, that sounds strange. I have to get used to being addressed as Marilyn Class instead of Gorin. Yes, I took my husband's name because it's the Christian thing to do no matter what modern standards say. Peter owns a beautiful home on North Bradford Avenue. I have no idea why we need 3 bedrooms and 2 baths since it's only 2 of us, at least right now. The house is charming and was built in 1924. We were married in the large living room by a Hillsborough County judge who happens to be a friend of Peter's. He seems to know everyone. He choked up at one point when we exchanged vows, and one of his friends made a joke to ease the tension. Come on, Pete, you've been through this once. You should know what to do by now. The whole room broke out laughing, including us and the judge. The ceremony continued without any other incidents. About 20 people attended our wedding, followed by a backyard barbecue. The day was just beautiful for such a memorable event in my life. My wedding night? Well, that's something I'd rather forget. I know it was the first time I gave myself to the man I married, but it hurt. I even bled a little afterwards. Things somewhat improved last night. Peter's a warm, gentle, and exciting lover, but I still don't know why people make a big deal about sex. As far as I'm concerned, it's overrated. However, sex will be part of our marriage, so I may as well learn to deal with and get better at it since I want to have children someday. We are in Phoenix tonight for an episode of Live From, before heading to Tucson for tomorrow night's Metal Heat taping. I never pictured spending my full week as a bride, sitting backstage, writing in a journal while my new husband worked less than a few feet away. I sense Peter felt bad we aren't having an actual honeymoon, but there will be plenty of time for us to take one in the future. I know how much he enjoys working behind the scenes at International, and all I care about is his happiness. Backstage is so chaotic. Aside from Peter, Sadie Mae, Jim Sattler, and Ava Lennon, I really don't know anyone. Things almost came to fisticuffs at one point when Peter went on a rampage after he saw some Mexican wrestler, Raul something, trying to flirt with me. Thank goodness other people were around to break up the confrontation before things got out of hand. I can't understand why Peter threw a fit. While it's flattering he clearly cares about me, he needs not to worry that I'd ever be interested in other men. I loved and marry him. My feelings for Peter since our first kiss on Mount Washington never changed. I forgot to mention I made some new friends. The Kerrigans are amazing people and live in Orlando. Brett used to wrestle for International before being released from his contract in 2009. He not only works the independent circuit these days, but also started a wrestling school and runs some kind of tournament for high-flying cruiserweights. He's a bit quirky, but Peter says it's part of his charm. Brett is brilliant, very well read into conspiracy theories, and always in touch with world events. Karen Kerrigan is equally intelligent and talented. She's a published author, and we already have common ground of both being from Pittsburgh. We talk for hours about our city's different points of interest and how she missed the sports teams. Like Peter and I, the Kerrigans have a big age difference between them, only Karen is the older one. They also have a beautiful, adorable baby girl named Autumn. Just seeing that little black-haired bundle with chubby cheeks makes me want my own babies more. It's almost 11 o'clock. The show should be over soon. I'll likely have to hang around longer since Peter has post-show things to do and likes to chat with people. What on earth? People who travel and work together almost all the time find new to discuss every day is lost on me. All I know is I'm starving. I should have eaten dinner, but was too excited and nervous about coming backstage tonight. Sadie usually has snacks stashed in her locker. Maybe I'll ask her for something if I can't find anything decent in one of the vending machines. We'll write more later or tomorrow. Love, Marilyn. And we have a couple more questions here on the chat board. First one I'll address since we have a few minutes remaining. Have you ever had any relationship prejudice in your own experience, I mean? Oh, yeah. I did date a gentleman. This was back in the 1990s. And of course, I was, a few years ago. He was about 20 years older than I was, Yeah, this guy could be your dad. And he was an attorney, very nice man. He's widowed, and we went on a few dates. We got very friendly. Of course, nothing, we didn't sleep together or anything like that, but we went out a lot, and I actually enjoyed his company, but, we get dirty looks. What's he doing, his age running around with this young girl? He must be some kind of pervert or something. But even now I get a lot of, ribbing because, you know, there's a 12-year age difference between me and my current partner. You know, he has a birthday coming, and it's so funny because our birthdays are exactly 1 month apart. My birthday is February 8th. His birthday is March the 8th. And it's so funny. And we had so much in common. We actually have known each other, you know, met back in 1996, and I mentioned this on another show. But we didn't really reconnect until last year when he found me on Facebook. And here's another comment on here on the chat board. It's called "Sex Never Hurt." LOL. Thank God. Hee hee. Maybe it did the first time, but after that it just felt good, you know. Oh, this is enjoyable. I love doing these kind of shows. I should do more interactive shows more often. Cause yeah, I've had a ball. I don't know about all of you, but I had a great time. But it has been a fun afternoon. But unfortunately, we are once again running down on time. And before I sign off today, I'd like to express a final word that the Ellen Carrington Show will be off the air for the next 2 weeks, making today's episode the final one of 2013. I'd like to wish all of you a safe, blessed, and happy holiday season. I look forward to having all of you back here beginning in January 2013. Thank you so much for supporting the show this year. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I hope you had a lot of fun listening. Yes, it was a great show. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can do another interactive show in the near future. Take care, everyone. We will see you next year. Bye-bye.